What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of GOAT Talk, where my dad and I talk about religion, society, and a host of other topics, all centered around the greatest to ever do it in faith. My name is Ryan, and this is my dad, Pastor Christopher Hale. How are you today, Dad?
I'm doing good, son. How are you?
Good. Glad to be here for another episode. We always have fun doing a podcast together, so yep. I'm excited for another one. If this is your first time here with us today, though, be sure to hit the subscribe button before you leave, and also on your way out, hit that bell in the top right to turn on your notifications so you're always notified whenever we drop any content here on the GOAT Talk YouTube channel. So as we like to do to start off every episode is have a GOAT conversation about something that has nothing to do with our topic at hand today. So today's question is, we had the Olympics not too far ago. I love the Olympics. So many different sports, so many different opportunities to watch a lot of amazing athletes. And you obviously have been alive a lot longer than I have, so I've gotten an opportunity to watch a lot more Olympics. So your perspective on this is going to be very interesting. But I wanted to ask you, who is your GOAT Olympian, your greatest Olympian of all time, from all of the Olympics you've watched, the gold medals they've won, all of that good stuff?
The greatest I've seen and would love to see again today is Usain Bolt.
Yeah. You put an H on his name. It's Usain.
Usain. I'm sorry. Usain Bolt. I'm sorry. I was just going to say the boat guy.
I was about to say Hussein is a terrorist.
Yes. Okay. All right. Now we got jokes. Okay. All right. But my reason for him is I love track and field, watching it.
Yeah.
And he was ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
Like, to watch him, if he got a baton, you knew it was over.
Mm-hmm.
If he got out off the turn, you knew it was over.
Yeah.
And for him to be that tall and run that fast, his whole stature just amazed me. Like, right. Because usually, sprinters that are good, I've down through time, were only at a certain height. But he stepped on the scene and just wiped it out.
Lightning in a bottle.
Lightning in literally. That's what I was like. Whenever I'd want to see every Olympic race he ran, and I could root for the U.S. All I want. I said, ain't nobody beating that guy.
Yeah, Usain was insane. Usain was insane.
He was insane.
Yeah, I love Usain Bolt. That would probably be my GOAT too. But two other, I guess, honorable mentions for me that I personally love to watch was, first off, is Simone Biles, who I think is by far the greatest gymnast of all time, without question.
Yes.
I mean, especially to go through the mental challenges she had the last time around in the Olympics, and to come back and have an incredible run this time around. I mean, she's absolutely phenomenal.
Because of that, because of what you just said, it reminded me of, she is the GOAT.
Yeah.
She's the GOAT.
Yeah.
And only because I say she's the GOAT, because it's one thing to always be on top.
Mm-hmm.
Be on top in a public, in the public.
Yeah.
But then also to fail.
Yeah.
Or in people's eyes fail.
Mm-hmm.
And come back.
It's huge. It's impressive. It's super impressive.
And not only come back, what impressed me was come back and bring people with you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Simone is definitely.
Simone's the GOAT.
Yeah, I have no issues with that.
I love Bolt, but when you throw that out there, she's the GOAT.
I got no issues with that.
Yeah.
The other person I would have to throw in the conversation is Michael Phelps. Oh. Michael Phelps is he was a dog.
Yes.
He was a straight dog. I mean, amazing. Like, I don't even think I've watched swimming in the Olympics since Michael Phelps, because
it's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not the same. Michael Phelps, he was
he was ridiculous.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, those three period in the time that I've watched.
Yeah, those are probably the three GOATs.
If
we had a Mount Rushmore, those three.
If that's what we might want to do, is do a Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, because those three were hard to beat for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Definitely. Well, let's dive into our topic at hand today. And I think this is going to be another amazing conversation. This is one that I always feel like is tough to navigate, especially with people like us who have grown up in church all our lives, who work in church, serve in church, I think it's tough at times because there are lots of people who may be or may not even be ignorant to the fact of how people view the church in the world today. And that can be because of various different issues, because of integral issues that have happened in the church, different scandals, the image bearers that come from the church, which should be all of us, you know what I mean, and how we carry ourselves and different things of that nature. But I think all of those things combined, and probably some more things that I'm missing right now, have caused it to be tough, if we're being honest, to reach unbelievers in this day and age when it comes to getting people to Christ, leading people to Christ. So I think that it's gotten a lot harder over time because we're seeing a lot of new societal issues, a lot of people who are even more sensitive to some things that than they were in the past. So because of that, it has made it even harder to kind of navigate some of those conversations, those hot topic issues and hot button conversations that we have today, especially when it comes to church and people's beliefs and different things of that nature. So my question for you to kind of kick this conversation off is how do you reach unbelievers in society today?
What I think the challenge is the church has to get back to being real. And if we're going to accept people for who they are, let them show up, teach them about Christ, and let Christ change them.
Yeah.
But we can't be so instant. We need instant. They show up today, and my approach when I deal with people just in general. If you sitting down and you want to talk about what's going on in your life and you start cussing, I'm not stopping you. Because I don't know why you're cussing. That's not even important.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to figure out is what's causing your pain.
Yeah. And I think that's important. Something you mentioned I want to kind of piggyback on is kind of like what you're talking about. Paul talks about being all things to all people. And like you just talked about, even though I'm sitting listening to a conversation of you sharing about your life, your struggle, whatever the case may be, and you're cussing, it doesn't mean necessarily that I need to cuss, but it doesn't mean that I need to judge you for doing so, right? Getting us off topic because you cussing and I don't cut. That has nothing to do with me trying to help you in your situation, encourage you, and ultimately lead you to Christ. And I think that is the disconnect lots of times between believers and non-believers is we have those blinders on from biases that we have for people, how we feel like people should act, or how we feel like, or based on people that we are around lots of times in our Christian community, our Christian bubble. When we feel like people don't act like that, it's tough for us to kind of not judge those people or have those biases.
Well, we have to go back to the Bible. And we have to be more like Christ.
Yeah.
Christ, if Jesus was in today's society, we would be upset with the people Jesus was eating with.
Yeah.
And what I try to do is when I'm in situations where people do that because you're a pastor, you're this, and they, as I'm gonna use their term, they slip up and say whatever, talk who they are. I was like, look, don't worry about me. I said, I have a unique background. Nothing you're gonna say is probably gonna shock me.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually worked for 2 sailors when I was a kid on a summer job, and cussing like a sailor is actually true. So people cussing don't bother me long as it's not at me.
Right. Yeah. That's different.
Yes, different. But in you just expressing yourself, it helps me understand where you're at and how in the society that we're in. Well, come on, we shouldn't. The church has a little bit, for lack of a better word, to me, tougher skin.
Yeah.
Like you all fazed by somebody dropping a few cuss words, when the truth of the matter is some of y'all ain't that saved. Y'all still dropping them too.
Right.
Or you acting like when you hear you like you've been saved for a minute, but now you all brand new now. No, just let the person express themselves and let God do the work. God has a funny way of fixing us in the areas that are really broken.
100%. And I think even those conversations that we have with people who think differently or may express themselves differently kind of hold up a mirror to us to kind of make us look introspectively of how we should be operating, how we can be growing in our walk and in different things that we do as well, or even things that we don't do that we should be doing. So I think that that's key and that's crucial. I wonder though at times why a lot of people dislike the church or have such a negative perspective or view of the church. Do you feel like it's because of the scandals that have happened at church? Do you feel like it's because, like we just kind of spent some time talking on, we can be as a church too judgmental to people who don't believe like we believe? Like, why do you feel like that negative perception or perspective is really out there and more than it's probably ever been in society today?
Scandals don't help.
Not at all.
The church has done people a disservice
100%.
in general.
Yeah.
And there's a plethora of reasons that tie back to that number of scandals. People are just talking about scandals that people know about. What about the church scandals that the church folk know about?
Yeah, they get
or
covered
people
up.
Come, or people in the community know about that never gets exposed publicly.
Right.
Doesn't change how the church is viewed. I think that, that's why being a preacher for over 30 years, I always felt it was important that preachers had character and accountability. Because when one preacher falls, it gives a black eye to everybody who preaches the gospel.
Yeah.
Because now you're being judged based off of what he or she has done. And then also how we sometimes try to rebound from said scandal or said situation. Sometimes they don't, and I hate to say it like this, but you don't apologize. I can't even really say that I've ever heard somebody in scandal apologize to the public or to their church. Maybe they have.
Yeah.
But, apologizing for their actions. You're human. God can still use you.
Yeah.
Not saying that he can't, but the impact that you have, you got to know that you affected some people, and maybe you should try to do what you can to minimize that impact.
Right.
And for some, even though the person may apologize or whatever, it may not happen. So that makes it more advantageous that us that haven't failed, haven't been through those things, continue to show the light and true what God is, and accept people and try to win them based off of, some things you just have to acknowledge. I think it's, people say, well, yeah, the church did. I said, I agree with you. Church has not been perfect. I said, but I'll give something that I've used to help people with was, how many drug dealers you know? How many drunks do you know? How many, whatever crime you want to come up with that you know, but that doesn't make it you.
Yeah.
And you didn't throw them away.
Yeah.
So if we think that people can be reconciled, brought back, let's give church, but church only a lot of times gets very few opportunities. That's why it's important for us to take that. And it's what you said in today's society, there's a whole lost concept because there's a philosophy that you're your own God. You're your own king. You don't need God. God isn't real. When God is real, whether you accept him or not, he's still real.
Right.
Bibles clearly say every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. I always say you can come to Christ the easy way, you can come to Christ the hard way. At some point you're going to admit it. But what I'm really trying to get people to understand is that society in and of itself, because Satan has been crafty. The Bible talks about it. In the last days, men will be lovers of themselves, chase certain passions, that could be knowledge, that could be this. We want to self-rule ourselves. When in actuality, we never really do, but that's the thinking that's out there. So when you're battling that, the church has to work now overtime to straighten some of that out.
Yeah. I definitely think a lot of that, you said a mouthful there, but a lot of that has to do with that image or that perspective that people see or they have when it comes to church. I think another big thing that the church kind of does, how we do ourselves a disservice when it comes to reaching people and unbelievers, is that we don't always have that authenticity that we need when it comes to kind of loving people for who they are and kind of loving them through who they are in difficult situations, loving them and leading them to Christ based off who they are. I always like to say there's no Richter scale for sin, but I think sometimes we are harder on people because they do certain things than we are on others, instead of really just loving people for who they are and helping them lead, helping them be led to Christ. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say what you said there is something that needs to. We're harder on people that things that we've not been through.
Exactly.
If it's something we've experienced or struggled with,
we cool giving advice and encouragement and prayer and grace. Yep.
And I think we teach a misconception of grace.
Misconception. Huge.
There is accountability that needs to take place.
Yeah.
Don't let it be abused.
Right.
And I think that some of that plays into not being able to properly reach people. The whole authenticity, what you said about being authentic, is it's hard to be authentic if you ain't authentic.
Right.
What I mean by that is, how am I going to love you if I don't love myself? I got to love myself through my ups. I love myself through my downs. And my love is going to look differently when I truly love myself first, meaning I know what God's done for me. I know where God's brought me from, and I want to share that with you. I'm going to tell you the truth in a manner which 9 times out of 10, if you hear my heart, it's going to hit you completely different than somebody who's struggling with things that they got going on with themselves.
Yeah.
And I think this generation and past generations that I've dealt with, the one thing that the times I've been successful in reaching them, that's more true than you realize. Like they can tell a fraud. Your generation can tell a fraud.
100%.
And I think that's where the church world has done society a disservice. Is you're perpetrating like you're love, you're perpetrating like you're help, and then they show up and you show them something totally different, then they're gonna reject you.
Yeah. No, that's very true. It's very true. Being genuine and authentic is huge, especially when you are a believer, but especially when you have a leadership position in the church and you're trying to lead people to Christ. I think it's huge. I had the opportunity to do an interview recently with a woman who just kept mentioning throughout the interview as she interviewed me about how genuine I seemed and how genuine I was. And I feel like that is just something that we don't spend a lot of time really thinking about, is like, that's what people, like you said, in our generation and in today's society are looking for. Just people who are genuine. That's just going to love you for who you are. It doesn't mean that we have to always agree on the beliefs and the lifestyles and different things of that nature. But I want to love you for who you are, because that's the only way that you are going to get to know the God that I know, right? Because he loved me for who I am, so why can I love you for who you are? I think that's the biggest, one of the biggest issues that we do ourselves a disservice when it comes to reaching unbelievers. So as we wrap up, what would you say is something that we could kind of focus on, whether you are a believer, whether you work in a church, serve in a church, like how can you play your part or do your job when it comes to kind of either being more genuine, or what can you do to kind of reach other people around you, whether that be at work, school, wherever you're at, to kind of lead people to Christ in today's day and age?
First, I would say make sure you're healed. Make sure you're in a positive way with Christ, that you can move forward and be effective in the kingdom. I think that too many times people are operating in their own hurt, their own pain. And when you're hurt and you're in pain, that's going to display completely differently when you're trying to minister to someone else.
Yeah.
So I would say never try to minister to someone when you're not where you need to be. It's okay to say, I need to step away. to get myself together. But if you're together, then you need to be genuine.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to let your yay be yay, let your nay be nay. What I mean by that is, don't tell somebody something you're not going to do.
Yeah.
You know, respect their time, respect the appointment, do whatever you're going to do. Because, remember, people are looking for you to fail or fail them. So you want to, whatever you tell them, you want to be spot on about it. And don't tell them something that's not in the Bible.
Right. That's huge.
You know, if you don't know, it's okay to tell them, I don't know. I'll get back to you. Let me find out.
Yeah.
Or there's a way to say, let's research it together,
right,
and reconvene, and let's discuss what you believe the scripture is saying about this, and try to not be argumentative. You know, I'm at a stage in my life. I'm not trying to convince you about Jesus. Jesus don't need me to convince you.
Right.
I'm just supposed to lead you to him. I'm going to tell you why you possibly need him, what he can possibly do for you. But you're going to have to make a certain step yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to argue with you, because I don't think I can convince you through an argument.
Yeah. That's huge. That's huge.
So I think how we treat people, how we, and how you treat them before you even start talking about church. I think if you're meeting somebody and they're hungry, don't talk about Jesus and they're hungry. Buy them something to eat. And may not even set up a different time. Talk with them.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And I think that point about arguing and stuff like that, I think is huge, because it's not always about being a great debater. It's about being a disciple, right? And really trying to reach people where they're at. Give to people that are in need, do for people what they may not even have seen done in the past from people who look like you when it comes to being a Christian or being a believer, going to church and stuff like that. I think that's really how you are effective when it comes to your walk in evangelism and really witnessing to people and just being genuine and authentic in all of your interactions and conversations with people. That's going to be the biggest way, I think, in society today to really leading more people to Christ, is just being as genuine and as Christ-like as you can be. So another great conversation, I would say, on Go Talk. I always enjoy it, and we obviously hope that you have enjoyed either watching or listening to this conversation as well. And we hope this won't be the last time that you're tuning in to an episode of Go Talk. We love you guys, and we will see you next week.